there is surveillance footage from inside the house. It shows a 14-year-old girl walking toward her mother's bedroom, gun behind her back, hidden from view. She goes in. Seconds later, the camera picks up the sound of gunshots and screaming. That footage was played for a jury in Brandon, Mississippi, and when it ended, the courtroom was silent. Because what followed that moment, what Carly Gregg did next, and the hours after, and the phone calls she made, and the text she sent, and the question she asked her friend before showing her inside the house, all of it made this one of the most disturbing cases this country has seen in years. Not because it was the most violent, but because nothing about Carly Gregg made sense. She was student of the year. She skipped the 3rd grade. She scored a 30 on the ACT at 13 years old. She played multiple instruments. Her teachers loved her. Her stepfather described her as a sweet little girl. And 7 days before she killed her mother, she wrote something in her journal that will stop you cold. Stay with me, because this case is not what it looks like on the surface. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand something about Carly Gregg that the verdict never fully explained. Ashley Smiley was 40 years old. She was a math teacher at Northwest Rankin High School in Brandon, Mississippi, the same school where her daughter Carly was a student. Every morning, they drove to the same building. Every afternoon, they came home together. From the outside, this looked like a close family, and in many ways it was. Ashley and Carly shared a life with Heath Smiley, whom Ashley had married after Carly's biological father left. Their home was warm, full of golden retrievers named Wyatt and Finn, and a shared love of animals and the outdoors. But the family had also survived something devastating. When Carly was 4 years old, her younger sister Natalie was born with a rare genetic disorder. The family relocated to Vicksburg so Natalie could access the medical care she needed. Natalie died on September 9, 2013, at just 18 months old. Carly was 4 years old when her baby sister died in front of her. And according to the psychiatrist who testified at trial, that loss never left her. Dr. Andrew Clark, a child and adolescent psychiatrist from Cambridge, Massachusetts, testified that around the ages of 6 or 7, after Natalie's death, Carly began hearing voices and having intrusive thoughts consistent with post-traumatic stress disorder. She was 6 years old, hearing voices, and nobody around her fully understood what that meant yet. On the outside, Carly Gregg looked like every parent's dream. She had skipped a grade, was once named Student of the Year, and her school records showed a pattern of good attendance and academic excellence. She read constantly. She was emotionally sensitive. Teachers used the word gifted. But inside that same girl, something had been fracturing for years. When Carly was 11 or 12, she began cutting her thigh. Not to end her life, Dr. Clark testified, but to cope, to feel something different from what she was carrying. Ashley found out in December 2023. She immediately took action, bringing Carly to a doctor, then a psychiatrist, where Carly was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Her mother was not ignoring it. She was fighting for her daughter. But then came the medication change that the defense would later argue changed everything. In early 2024, Carly discontinued antipsychotic medication and began taking Lexapro, a drug known in some patients to worsen bipolar symptoms. Dr. Clark testified that as the medication switched, Carly began experiencing lower lows and higher highs, and Gregg herself allegedly told Clark that the voices, the ones she had been hearing since she was a child, were getting worse. And on March 12, 2024, 7 days before the shooting, Carly sat down and wrote in her journal. Dr. Clark read it out loud in court. "I think I had a psychotic break earlier. The whole ordeal is quite silly. I actually spoke with one of the voices in my head, Well, I didn't hear them until earlier today, but I only do then. My particular friend and I were practically screaming bloodthirstily and ravenously. Thank God physical confrontation was not possible. I sound crazy. She wrote that herself, 1 week before the shooting. And then she went to school, and came home, and went to school again, and nobody pulled her out of class. Nobody called an emergency. Nobody saw what was written in that journal. Until it was read aloud in a Mississippi courtroom. March 19, 2024, a Tuesday. Carly woke up grumpy and irritable that morning. She told Dr. Clark she couldn't focus during class. What happened next began with something small, something almost ordinary. During the mid-afternoon, Ashley Smiley was informed by a student, a friend of Carly's, that Carly had a large amount of cannabis hidden in her bedroom. Along with the marijuana, e-cigarettes and burner phones were also discovered. Ashley went home, she found it, she confronted her daughter. What happened in those minutes between the confrontation and what came next, that is the part nobody can fully explain. Because the surveillance footage inside the house shows what happened, it does not show why. The footage captured Carly walking toward her mother's bedroom with the gun hidden behind her back. The camera picked up the sound of gunshots and her mother's screams. Ashley Smiley was shot in the head. She died in the bedroom of her own home. Carly did not run. She stayed in the house. She texted her stepfather, Heath Smiley, from her mother's phone, luring him back to the house. Heath came home the way he always did, called Ashley's name as he walked down the hallway, and then a flash, a loud sound. He didn't understand what was happening until he realized Carly was trying to shoot him in the face. He fought her for the gun. More shots fired. One hit his shoulder. Throughout the struggle, Carly screamed as if she was the one who was terrified. Heath Smiley later testified. She was screaming out of her mind, scared. It was like she had seen a demon or something, he said. I still to this day don't even think she recognized me. Something was off. Carly broke free, jumped the backyard fence, was found by a police officer near the roadside a short time later. Heath went back inside the house, searched the rooms, and found his wife dead on the floor. He called 911. What came next is the detail that divided people who followed this case more than anything else. After the shooting, after her mother was dead on the floor, after she had tried to shoot her stepfather, Carly texted a friend. The friend, referred to in court only as BW, was 16 years old. Before BW arrived, Carly asked her a question. Are you squeamish around dead bodies? Then she brought her inside and showed her. The prosecution pointed to that moment and said, this is who Carly Gregg is. This is not confusion. This is not a blackout. This is someone who knew exactly what she had done and was in control of what she was doing next. The defense pointed to the exact same moment and said, this is what a child in complete psychological collapse looks like. Not running, not hiding, not crying alone, reaching for the only person she could think of with no understanding of what was normal or appropriate because she was not operating in a normal reality. Both of those arguments are coherent. That is what makes this case impossible. The trial lasted 5 days, September 16 to September 20, 2024. The first thing the jury heard was a 911 call, Heath Smiley's voice, reporting that his stepdaughter had shot him and killed his wife. Surveillance footage followed. Then Heath himself took the stand. The prosecution's case was built around a simple premise. Carly Gregg was not insane. She was calculating. Forensic psychiatrist Dr. Jason Pickett testified that Gregg did not meet Mississippi's legal standard of insanity. He cited a text message from February, a month before the shooting, where Gregg wrote to a friend, "You don't understand how psycho I was that day. I almost murdered my parents." She wrote that in February, a month before March 19th. She was already thinking about it. That was the prosecution's case in one text message. But the defense had the journal entry and the medication change, and Dr. Andrew Clark. Clark argued that Carly's combination of mental health history, the medication switch to Lexapro, and her escalating auditory hallucinations led to a violent outburst that she does not remember. Her memory, he testified, went blank at the time of the shootings. Then came the complication that damaged the defense in ways that were hard to recover from. Rebuttal witnesses for the prosecution testified that Carly had denied hearing voices to her therapist. Rebecca Kirk, a licensed professional counselor who met with Carly 9 times before the shooting, said that in January 2024, just 2 months before the killing, Carly reported intrusive thoughts and anger, but denied hearing voices. So which was true? The journal that said she spoke to a voice in her head on March 12th, or the therapy sessions where she denied hearing voices entirely? The jury deliberated for 2 hours. They came back guilty on all 3 counts. Then came the sentencing, and this is where the case entered a new chapter, one that is still being fought today. Carly Gregg was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for the murder of her mother, life for the attempted murder of her stepfather, and an additional 10 years for tampering with evidence. All 3 sentences were ordered to run consecutively. She was 15 years old when that sentence was read. She had been offered a plea deal, one 40-year sentence, with the remaining charges dropped. She turned it down. She said she would rather face 2 life sentences than take a deal she believed was unjust. A 14-year-old made that decision, and a courtroom honored it by giving her exactly what she said she could handle. In 2025, Carly's new attorney James Murphy filed a 75-page brief with the Mississippi Supreme Court, arguing that her trial and sentencing were plagued by a series of inadequacies, mistakes, and unfair rulings, including what he called ineffective assistance of counsel from her own defense attorney. The appeal argues that the jury instruction on insanity was legally flawed, taken from a case more than a century old, requiring the defense to prove Carly was totally deprived of her reason. Murphy argues the word totally set an impossibly high standard that no defendant could realistically meet. The appeal also raises the issue of a state expert who summarized the plot of crime and punishment on the stand while discussing Carly's mental state. The defense calls it not clinical clarification, but narrative substitution, designed to shape the jury's perception through association with one of literature's most famous fictional killers. On May 27, 2026, Carly's attorneys appeared before the Mississippi Supreme Court to argue her case in person. As of today, the court has not issued a ruling. Carly Gregg is still in prison, still waiting. And then there is this. A group called Carly's Warriors was formed in February 2026, set up and run by Carly's maternal grandparents, Ashley's own parents, along with other members of Ashley's family. And standing alongside them, Heath Smiley, the man Carly tried to kill. The victim's husband, the woman's own parents, arguing that the sentence was disproportionate, that a child in a mental health crisis deserved something different than 2 consecutive life sentences. The man who survived being shot by her, who found his wife's body on the floor, who called 911 with a bullet in his shoulder. That man is now fighting for her. If that doesn't make you sit with this case differently, nothing will. So here is what we know with certainty. Ashley Smiley was a 40-year-old math teacher and mother who spent the last months of her life trying to get help for her daughter. She is gone. Carly Gregg was a 14-year-old girl with a history of childhood trauma, auditory hallucinations, a medication change 1 week before the shooting, and a journal entry describing a psychotic break 7 days before her mother died. She is serving life without parole. And somewhere between those 2 facts is a question this case never fully answered. Was this a calculated murder by a teenager who had been planning it since February? Or was this what a complete psychological collapse looks like when it finally arrives, quiet, invisible, and then all at once? The jury chose, the court confirmed, the Mississippi Supreme Court is still deciding. But the people who actually lived through it, the man who was shot, the grandparents who lost their daughter, they are not done asking. And neither, honestly, are we. If you want to follow what happens next with the Mississippi Supreme Court ruling, subscribe. The moment a decision drops, we will cover it. And if you think Carly's sentence was right, or if you think something went wrong in that courtroom, drop it in the comments. This case deserves that conversation.